Hey everyone, welcome to the Horror Show. I'm Cecil Laird.
I'm Brittini.
And welcome back to day 2 of the 8 Days of Sawlloween.
I want to play a game.
Today we're going to be reviewing the second in the titular horror series that has it returned to reclaim Halloween for 7 years straight. I believe it was 7 years straight. They dominated Halloween, coming out every single October. So now the new one is coming out October 27th, 2017, and you guys are seeing this just about 7 days before that, if I don't drop the ball. And so, as such, we are going to talk about the second movie in the series, which, quite frankly, judging by what we said in the first review, is where we really started to appreciate the Saw series.
Absolutely.
At the first time we saw this, back in the day when they first came out, we both were not fans of the first movie. However, you said, and I didn't even say this, but it was the same with me, that after you saw the second movie, then re-watched the first movie, you ended up liking it way more.
Yes.
So that actually speaks very highly of its sequel, that not only was it better than the first movie, but it actually made you like the first movie more because of the things that it pulled off in the second movie, right?
Yeah, it gave me a better look into Jigsaw, and it made me like what he was doing a lot more. More in the first one, you're just looking at it going, yeah, okay, these guys are kind of stupid and they're being ridiculous, but
he was largely
really
off screen.
Yeah, he was largely off screen, and you didn't really understand his motives. Where in this one, his motives were very clear.
Yep.
You didn't have, you did have a pretty large flashback, but you had no idea that it was a flashback until
the reveal.
Mm-hmm. Sorry, that was probably a big spoiler for
it's
those
okay.
who haven't
it's like
seen the movie.
15 years old at this point.
So yeah, I liked all of that a lot better. And then while I didn't like the dad, the cop, I don't think you were supposed to.
Right.
So.
Yeah, honestly, but I was very questionable about it too. When I first saw it, I was like, he's pretty unlikable, and then you find out kind of why at the end. You're like, oh, okay.
Yeah. Hey, like, he was unlikable, but so were all the people he arrested. You know?
Well, we'll get to all that. That's all part of the story. Okay, so the overall thoughts, though. Overall thoughts were, I really liked this one. Again, better than the first one. It's set up a lot to come in the future. A lot of characters that'll come back in the future, and you know, a mythos to Jigsaw, and sort of a method to his madness that while we saw in the first one in retrospect, it was cool to see it sort of in action in this one. So overall, I really dig this particular installment of the series. I'm excited to rewatch the rest to see where it sits amongst the rest, because right now it's clearly the front runner, but they were both pretty good. So overall from you?
I love this movie. I think this movie's great. Like I said, it made me want to go back and rewatch the first one, and it made me love the first one so much more. It made me like the first one because I hated the first one the first time around, and it made it grow on me. It made me understand a lot more about it, because it I don't know, it made it grow. It made it a little world where before it was just this glimpse of this guy I didn't understand.
Yeah.
So I thought this movie was great overall. It was awesome.
Right on. So moving into the story then, this one actually starts off with Donnie Wahlberg, who is a detective, who is having some family troubles with his son, who he's struggling because it's obviously a divorced family, and the kid even says, I think I'm going to go spend time with my mom, and he's like, well, go then, and he gets pissed and basically points and sends him a steppin'. And then after that, he doesn't talk to his son. And he starts to get worried, and then sort of a nondescript amount of time passes.
Yeah, they don't really say, but they do kind of make it like there's
enough time.
Enough time that it's like more than like 2 weeks. But
well, no, I don't think it's even 2 weeks. No, because
it's like
a couple of hours even, I think.
Hours? Oh.
Yeah, because it had to be the one can of air that lasted. from when the kid. Well, I don't know.
Well,
it depends
no,
on how
because
long they actually hold on to the kid and stuff like that.
you got the.
You don't
the
really know. It's a nondescript amount of time.
It's a nondescript amount of time. You don't know how long he hasn't talked to him. You don't know how long it's been since the kidnapping.
They did make it think like it was a couple of weeks, though. You're right.
The only frame of time you really have is the time they're in the house.
Right.
They're all trapped inside.
You're right.
That's the only frame of time you really have.
That 2 to 3 hours.
That plus the time he's trapped inside the safe.
Right. So anyway,
which is about the same time.
Basically, they almost immediately figure out where Jigsaw is supposed to be. And Donnie Wahlberg is apparently revealed to be working with Dina Meyer, who we saw in the first movie just as one of the, nondescript side character detectives. Now she's one of the main characters working with Donnie Wahlberg, and they figure out where Jigsaw is, and there's a SWAT raid, like in the first 6-7 minutes of the movie, and it's cool because all these police storm this building and they get to this stairwell, and then the Billy the puppet comes at the top of the stairs and just starts laughing that that Halloween that thing that all the skulls laugh like and all that stuff for the past 20 years. But then the door shuts and one of the guys is crippled by some mechanic in the stairs.
Because he activates a tripwire.
Right. And something, takes him off at the legs. And then when the other guys try and figure out a way out, he electrocutes the fence and kills 3 or 4 cops right in a row there, or all at once rather. And then the rest storm up and they find Jigsaw just kind of sitting there waiting calmly while attached to an IV bag, clearly doing, I'm not sure which, whether it's chemo or radiation. But it's one of the two, because he throughout the course of the movie reveals that he has a brain tumor that he's been diagnosed with, and actually we caught a glimpse of that. Or no, they revealed that at the end of the first movie. Yeah. That the reason that Cary Elwes was there was because he was the doctor that diagnosed him with the brain cancer.
Yeah, and he was so callous.
And he just wasn't good about being human about it.
He was cheating on his wife.
Yeah, he was not a good human. Yeah, exactly. So anyway, he gets up there and Donnie Wahlberg, it's so funny, he gets right in his face and he's like, is this close enough? Because Jigsaw left a note on the top of a crime scene that said, look closer, detective, or whatever. Yeah. And he gets right in his face and he's like, is this close enough? And I was like, oh snap, that's a freaking awesome line, yeah. And then he takes 5 steps away and then Jigsaw's like, I wonder where your son is, or some shit like that. And he basically lets him know that he's like, go check that room over there. And then they go and they see these monitors that show this group of people that are in this house that are set up like security cameras all over the house. But Donnie Wahlberg's son is one of the captives along with some others, and that's what the movie becomes, which is really interesting for me because I love this series called Cube, which began in, I think, the late 80s, possibly the very early 90s, way ahead of Saw. But Cube opens with a group of people waking up with no memory of how they got there, and they're inside this big cube room, and every room has one little cube porthole. Every room is like a 9-cube grid, Sudoku style. And the one in the middle is a door to another room, so they have to try and escape this cube, and every room is booby-trapped with deadly booby traps. And I was watching this, and I even wrote in my notes, I'm like, Saw 2 is Cube in the Sawverse, because they all wake up and they have to try and get from room to room and not die and get hurt in the process. It really is, it's Cube. And so this group of people they have this nerve agent being pumped in through the air vents, and they have to try and find these needles which have the antidote. And there's enough for almost all of them to get them, but they have a time limit. And so they have to figure out these things, and the problem is they're all ex-cons, which is revealed throughout the movie.
Everyone except for the cop's son.
Right, everyone except for the cop's son, and the reasoning why is revealed later on. There's a connection, and basically the son does not want everyone else inside the house to find out that he's the cop's son for a very specific reason. And there is more than one unstable and impulsive person inside the house. So it's what happens when you can't trust the other people if you're not all on a level playing field in your eyes? Then, you know, the biggest, burliest, you know, the he who has it's might makes right, you know, in this particular one.
And it's like totally, it's like what was that stupid show on MTV back in the day?
Real World.
Real World.
Yeah.
It's like Real World with versus mashed up
what
with Game of Thrones.
happens when six strangers get put together and start getting deadly? They stop being nice and start getting deadly.
They're killing each other. They're
my God.
Trying to get whoever gets the antidote first wins.
Oh man, and there's some brutal scenes. There's some really aggressive scenes.
Throws her into the pit.
The hot box.
Like,
the hypodermic pit.
Yeah.
Yeah, and honestly, this is the Saw movie with the hypodermic needle pit. And actually, I've been to Universal Studios when they had a Saw maze where they had a girl in a hypodermic needle pit and stuff. It was really awesome to see. But yeah,
they had them all sticking out of her too.
Yeah, exactly. It was so aggressive. No, the kills in this one were so much cooler, and you got to see them happen in what you think is real time. Mm-hmm. Essentially, it's real time in the movie, and so you don't see it in flashbacks sped up really quick.
And that's the
sort
other
of.
thing. Yeah, in the first
there's
one,
not a lot
was like
of
flashes.
Yeah,
so
you could get a seizure if you have epilepsy watching the first movie.
Yeah.
Not so in the second movie.
I love that opening kill in the first one where the guy just won't cut into his eye.
In the second one.
In the second one, sorry.
Yeah.
The second one. That's what I meant.
The Venus flytrap.
The one we're talking about right now.
Right, the Venus flytrap.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And like that scene in the opening kill.
Vanity
love
kills,
that.
baby.
Oh, dude, that guy's ridiculous.
Vanity kills.
Like,
so, yeah, it starts off,
die.
again, it's not a spoiler if it's the opening scene of the movie, but it starts off with this guy who's in a room and he's got this Venus flytrap, this metal Venus flytrap with nails. It's like an Iron Maiden, except it's been split in half, and one's on the back and one's on the front, and they're filled with nails, spring-loaded. And all he has to do is gouge out one eye to get the key that Jigsaw has surgically implanted there.
And Jigsaw's even given him a scalpel. It's
giving him a scalpel.
So easy. All he's got to do
is cut through his eye.
All he's got to do
it's not that easy.
No, you can see the spot where it's all freaking bubbled up and stuff. Like, come on.
You would be able to go right for that?
Oh, come on.
Dude.
You're going to die.
Oh, but all right. So he doesn't, and then wha-bam. And it sets the stage for the rest of the movie.
Thing is he starts to do it. He even cuts himself, and then he stops, and then
it's like if you're gonna cut yourself, just go through with it.
Do it.
Yeah. So that's what I'm saying. It draws you in right away. You're like, ooh, this is gonna be good, you know. And that's what I love about these movies. Some people, they call them torture porn, and I think some of the later installments got to that level, but early on, the gore had a point. Mm-hmm. The gore served the story.
Yeah, exactly.
And not exactly, like, there's no real reason why he had to cut his eyeball. Like, yeah, I mean, that's gore for gore's sake, but at the same time, it's not just like trying to come up with creative ways to kill people like the later installments, but that's okay with me because it's like Final Destination. Yeah. People go for the gore and they want to see the creative deaths. And so let's do it. Let's lean into that wind. You know what I mean? Like, there's nothing wrong with that. It doesn't make the movie bad just because it's that.
No.
I'm fighting against people that are out there arguing with me.
You see, I thought that him putting the key in his eye, making him cut his eye out, was very similar to the way they cut your hand off when you steal something.
Yeah, well, he was an artist, I think he said.
He said he was, I think he was an informant or something like that, or I don't know. Was he an artist?
I don't know. I thought it had to do with it was going to hamper his ability to do something.
Yeah, exactly. It was going to make it harder for him to do whatever it was he did to make a living or to get by in life.
Yeah.
Because whatever he was doing to get by in life was obviously scummy. That's why I didn't think he was an artist. That's why I thought.
I don't know. Maybe you're right. Yeah, I don't remember.
So he's using it.
I just went to art because if you lose your eye, what else could hurt more? Yeah. But anyway, yeah. So Wahlberg's detective character is told very early on by Jigsaw that all you have to do is sit here and talk to me and your son will be okay. and he just
You'll
can't.
find him in a
He
safe
doesn't
place.
trust him. He doesn't believe him, and by the end, he forces Jigsaw into a position to have to take him where he wants to go, and he does, and it ends up backfiring again.
Perfectly
Without giving
backfired.
away anything. It not only because Jigsaw, it's a legacy movie.
Yeah.
Because Jigsaw admits that he is dying from a brain tumor.
Absolutely.
And by the end of the movie, you realize that there's a protege involved, and then there's this beautiful mirroring, because at the end of the second movie, a good portion of the third act takes place in the main location from the first movie.
Yeah, and you don't realize it.
You don't realize it until it happens. They
happens,
stumble
and
into
you're
it, and you're like,
oh,
it's awesome.
yay.
And then it even ends on like the mirrored note
And
with
you're
the
just like,
protege slamming the door. It's like, oh, it was so good. Again, we're spoiling but not spoiling. We're not ruining it. You're gonna want to watch it anyway.
Yeah,
but the story was really cool in this,
It was.
and very satisfying and easy to follow and not choppy like the first one was.
Yes.
So I think they stepped it up in this one.
And
I don't know that
I
the
liked-
directing was quite as cool because I'm just a big James Wan head. But this guy did Saw 2 through 4.
Oh, okay.
So he will
and
be,
I did like both stories. I liked the story in the house, and I liked the story with them at Jigsaw's place.
Yeah,
I
see,
liked both
since
stories,
this
the way they played
director
off
did
each
Saw
other.
2 through 4, that's what makes me think that the first 4 are the clump that go together, and then the next 3.
Oh, maybe.
I'm not sure though.
Well,
I'm not sure. We'll
we'll
find out as we
figure
go
that out.
through. So, but yeah. So the gore. I mean, we've touched on how much we liked it more in this one. But again, seeing it in real time, seeing the peephole trap,
Ooh,
the hypodermic trap,
and seeing everyone's reactions. The actors who were in the house, they all had good reactions.
Mhm.
They all did a really good job. Nobody was
Genuine.
nobody was super overacting.
And I know a
except
couple
maybe
of those
sometimes
actors.
the
The
kid.
female for sure we've seen in other things.
Oh yeah.
I couldn't think of what.
We got the one girl who got blown with blood right when the guy
Yeah,
got
the blonde,
shot through
right?
the door.
Yeah.
Yeah, she was from Seventh Heaven.
Oh, was she? I didn't
Yeah.
even realize. I was talking about the other girl, the
dark-haired
brown-haired
girl?
one. Yeah.
I don't know.
She's been in some stuff too. I know I've seen her. I swear she was a vampire in something or something like that. But yeah, it's interesting to see the cast again from these earlier Saw movies that you know from other things, and again I'm excited to see how some of this stuff comes back because I know Donnie Wahlberg plays a part in Part 3, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
So because
Oh,
I know
yes,
you know
yes,
he
yes,
does
yes,
too.
yes.
So. I'm excited. I really want to know when the drop off is. I want to know when we start watching a movie. You're like, oh, I haven't seen this. I want to know when that point is because that'll be good for the reviews. All right. So
I'll let you guys know too.
yeah, I think that's gonna do it. We really like Saw 2, you guys. So let us know in the comments down below if you enjoy it as much as we do, or if this started to be where it went off for you. Let us know. Again, this was still unique.
Oh yeah.
This was still very unique, and even within the Sawverse, you could see everything happen as it unfolded. You saw Jigsaw puppeteering without having to puppeteer because he had set everything up.
It was a new take on it because there was a whole mass of people involved at one time.
Right, yeah.
So
and that seems to be the formula they followed from there on out.
Yeah, but it was a new level for the series.
It was.
But
the group thing is kind of how it went from there on.
Yeah, it did. Yeah.
So yeah, it did establish sort of the
established a
new norm.
kind of
Yeah. Good point. All right, guys. So again, let us know in the comments down below what you thought of it. Until tomorrow, which will be day 3 of the 8 Days of Sawlloween. Thank you very much for joining us. I've been Cecil Laird.
And I'm Brittini Lee.
And remember, stay scared.